Hello, welcome back. This is the birth book of Jesus, Apocrypha version. Many of the texts are in its original wording and spelling, so, using my occult and typologist knowledge, I will translate a lot of the words and meanings, and a transliteration of the allegories. You may not agree, but if you have been following my channel then you are advanced enough to understand. So, let's begin. The birth of Yeshua, the Nazarite, who became our Adonai, and interpreter of Elohim, and the Torah, a worthy vessel for the greatest manifestation of the power of the Ruach HaKodesh, seen on earth, occurred in this manner. 2. About the time Yohanan the Forerunner commenced teaching the way of the wilderness beside Yarden, in the year before Herod died, when Augustus, Caesar, ruled the Roman world, a babe was born. The father was Joseph, son of Heli, a carpenter of Galilee, and the mother Miriam, his wife, who had been a virgin, pledged to Yahweh, and the Hakel, by her father Shimon, son of Joachim, son of Nathan, son of Eleazar. Typology. First, Augustus Caesar, Roman emperor from 27 BC, until his death in 14 AD. Second, in the year before Herod died, reigned 37 BC, until his death in 4 AD. 3. Date of Jesus' birth, 3 AD, 20th March, on the vernal equinox. A decree had gone out, that all who claimed kinship within the house of David, should be gathered for enrollment at the city of David, called Bethlehem, in Galilee. Therefore Joseph, being rightfully born into the stock of David, took the scroll of his parentage, and went to Bethlehem, so his kinship could be established. Typology. Joseph, being rightfully born into the stock of David, took the scroll of his parentage. For now Miriam, being then heavy with child, longed in her heart to be among her kinsmen, and she prevailed upon Joseph to take her, for Bethlehem was only a day's journey from them. The two, with a servant, came to Bethlehem at evening tide, but because so many had gathered, the inns were filled. Then as Miriam's time was close upon her after the journey, a man took pity on her and provided a cave, used as a stable. There the travelers found shelter and rest. Typology. First, Mary, Miriam, name meaning, wished for child, or sea of bitterness. Miriam is a girl's name of Hebrew origin, as it means wished for child, and a man took pity on her and provided a cave, used as a stable, or allegory for the cave of treasures. 5. That night, Miriam's labors came upon her, and she suffered the pangs of childbirth, and cried out in pain. Nearby, some shepherds were tending sheep, for in the midst of so many strangers these needed protection, and, hearing her cry, went to help. They provided a shepherd's basket which was filled with straw and placed it in the manger, and the newborn babe was wrapped in the clothes brought for him. 6. After 8 days had elapsed, the child was named Yeshua, meaning one who delivers, for a messenger of Yahweh had appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying, That which lies within Miriam, your wife, is filled with the power of the Ruach HaKodesh, and will respond to the hopes of men. Typology. The child was named Yeshua, meaning one who delivers, for a messenger of Yahweh, is to mean, Yeshua, Jupiter, is the messenger of Yahweh, the Sun. 7. Later, men called him Yeshua, and because he fulfilled their hopes and was anointed with the power of the Ruach HaKodesh, he became acknowledged as Hamashiach. Typology. Hamashiach means the anointed one, Hamashiach, or the Messiah, and Ruach HaKodesh means the spirit of the Messiah, spirit of the truth. 8. Now, the stable was against a hill, behind an inn where sages from the east were staying, men of Sastera, wise in the books, of the Shemaim, and of Nimrod, who carried the stake of fire. So, Joseph sent for them, requesting they come and foretell the child's future, for such was the custom. 9. One of the sages said, "It is strange indeed, for this child is born under no usual star, but under one that is a star, in appearance only and not in nature, having a power, not in other stars. He is destined for greatness, and will motivate events, touching the lives of all men." Typology: one that is a star, in appearance only. This means the morning stars, which are the planets at sunrise, or sunset, which look like stars, in appearance only. 10 When word of this was passed around, there was much excitement among those belonging to the house of David. And many, remembering the Nebu of Johanan, for they had passed his way, wondered in their hearts, "Is this not he for whom we wait, the consolation of the Yehudim, and deliverer of men?" This displeased the people of Bethlehem, who awaited another deliverer. 11 When the sages spoke of the matter at their journey's end in Yerushalayim, and word came of the excitement among those of the house of David in Bethlehem, there was great consternation among the Kohanim and learned men. They tried to discover where the babe was, but the sages answered, deviously, and said, "His star points towards the east." Typology: they tried to discover where the babe was, but the sages answered, deviously, and said, "His star points towards the east." First, to mean, the star rising in the east was a complete and total lie. The sages answered, deviously, they lied about a star from the east. Second, because the actual star is the evening star, Jupiter, in the west. That's because to follow any star at night, you need to travel west, basic astrology. But if you don't know astrology and just go by faith, well, it's obvious why people don't understand the very words they are reading, just assume or guess, or simply don't think. 12 An elder of the house of David, attending the Berakah of the child on the 8th day, lifted up his voice and declared, "Surely this is he who has been promised to redeem us out of the hands of evil. This is he upon whom the power of the Ruach HaKodesh will descend, bestowing strength, compassion and wisdom. Surely, he will rule, in the reign of Elohim." 13 When the sovereign heard about these things and that a babe had been born who, many claimed, was destined to be the deliverer, he was greatly disturbed, and summoned the council. With the council were learned scribes and elders, who disputed among themselves concerning the babe. 14 Some said that while Yeshua's anointed would be born in Bethlehem, the deliverer would not, for the birth of Yeshua's anointed in that place had been foretold by the Nebim. Others said it might not be more than an enlightener, who was expected to be born at that time. However, when many agreed that Yeshua's anointed, and the deliverer might be the same person, the sovereign sent 3 men, to discover the child. Typology: the Nebim, the Hebrew canon of the section of the Old Testament known as the Nevim, or the prophets, is divided into 2 sections, the former prophets and the latter prophets. The former prophets contains 4 historical books: Joshua, Judges, Samuel, and Kings, Enoch, which I have the complete books. 15 The dispute before the council had been long, and Joseph had been forewarned, so when the men sent by Herod came to Bethlehem, Joseph had departed with his family. They went to the place where the kinsman of Miriam lived. The men who came did not search long for Yeshua, for after the council had been dismissed, Herod slew the son who sat with him on the throne, as he had slain others, of his blood. Later, Herod died himself. But after these happenings, the Romans did not bestow the title of sovereign on any Yehudi, and it was unlawful for any man to claim the title. Typology: Yehudi, a person who believes in and practices the religion of Judaism, Jehovah, sun worship. 16 In this manner the Nebuah was fulfilled which said, "A virgin shall give birth to a son, naming him Elohim with us. He will be the bearer of knowledge, discriminating between good and evil." But before this is given to the people, the land will lose its sovereigns. 17 When time had passed, Joseph and Miriam came to Yerushalayim, and stayed at the house of a relative, a man strongly set against wrongdoing and well learned in the Torah. The 40 days having been accomplished for the purification of Miriam, she came to the Heikel, and Yosef offered the prescribed sacrifice, and dedicated the child. Typology. Nebia refers to a message or revelation from God, delivered through a prophet. 18. Hearing from Yosef and Miriam the things which the sages had foretold about the child Yosef, the devout man took the babe into his arms and praised Yahweh in this manner. 19. Because the things foretold have come about, your servant is prepared to depart in shalom. For my eyes have been gladdened by the deliverer of my people, a beacon light for others and the glorifier of your name. He will teach all men the ways of Yahweh, and how to walk in his paths, so swords shall be made into plowshares, and spears into billhooks, and shalom will reign over men. Typology. Shalom means peace. 20. Yosef and Miriam could not understand the meaning of this and asked what was meant, whereupon the man replied, I hold a sapling which will grow into a sturdy tree, under the shade of which many nations will find shalom. Yet he will also test the strength of our people, tearing them apart in dispute. He comes as a separator, dividing the sheep from the goats, showing each his rightful place. He will place a sword in the hands of the weak, and strengthen them, and the Belial will be smitten. 21. After complying with the requirements of the Torah of the Kenim, Yosef and Miriam returned with the infant to their home in Galil, a small place in a hollow at the foot of a hillside. There the child grew up, developing a strong body and keen mind, for he was strangely talented. He was wise beyond his years, and deft with his hands, and when old enough, he began learning the craft of plow-making. Typology. He began learning the craft of plow-making. This means, conveys themes of preparation, transformation, and dedication, both in the physical and spiritual realm. 22. His parents, following the custom, went each year to Yerushalayim for the festival of deliverance. And when Yeshua was 12, they went as usual, but this time taking him with them. Having remained the 7 days of the festival, Yosef and Miriam set off to return home, but let the boy linger in Yerushalayim, for a kinsman of theirs was also returning, and they thought Yeshua was in his company. 23. Having gone a day's journey and finding Yeshua was not with his kinsman, they became perturbed and at first light, in the morning returned to Yerushalayim. It was some time before they found Yeshua in a small outside room of the Heikel, sitting before an instructor of the Torah of the Kenim. His parents were astonished at finding him accepted among learned men, and the teacher expressed amazement at the child's love of learning. 24. But Miriam scolded the boy for his inconsideration, saying, We have suffered much during the search for you. 25. Yeshua replied, Why search for me elsewhere, knowing I must concern myself with the work of my Father? 26. This saying disturbed the instructor. Neither could his parents understand the meaning of the reply, but they took the boy away with them. Henceforth he always obeyed his parents, but Miriam kept these things in the storehouse of her heart. As Yeshua grew up, his intelligence increased, and he was well liked by all, but he was a solitary child, much given to wandering. 2. Yosef died when Yeshua was a youth, at that time working as a craftsman among the Kenites. 2. After Yeshua had been away a long time, he returned to the house of his brothers. One day, while he worked under the shade of a tree, they came to him and said, Out in the wilderness by Yarden, there is a man who cleanses people by immersion in water. He claims strange knowledge, and calls himself the Forerunner. We are going to see what he teaches. 3. Yeshua said, I have heard of these things, and surely as the son of our forefather Yeshai prayed to be cleansed of his secret faults and presumptions, the sons of our father should not stand aloof from cleansing. I will go with you. For the brothers of Yeshua said, this man is called Yohanan. He heralds the coming of an enlightener, who will be an all-wise instructor in goodness. He himself does not bear this new light which will dispel the darkness in men's minds. He tells of one who will grant men the privilege of becoming children of Elohim, awakening to eternal high, that part within them not born of earthly desires. Typology. First, awakening to eternal high, means your soul. Second, privilege of becoming children of Elohim, Elohim is Jupiter. Third, again the constant connection with Jupiter, who in Sumerian and Babylon, was called the giver of life, life-giver, rebirth and reincarnation. 5. So Yeshua and his brothers went out seeking Yohanan, finding him beside the Yarden, at the place of crossing where there was a pool. The hairs on the head of Yohanan were already white. 6. Yohanan, seeing Yeshua among those gathered about him, said, Look, all of you here, he is, a man in whom there is no guile, the true Lamb of Elohim, the one we await. For Sethel, sending me forth to immerse, instructed me thus, when you discover a man worthy to be the receptacle of the Ruach HaKodesh in abundance, the same shall you acknowledge as the enlightener. 7. Hearing these words, Yeshua joined with those to be cleansed. But when he stood before the forerunner in the water, Yohanan said, You have greater powers of cleansing than I, yet you come to me. 8. Yeshua replied, The power to cleanse and revitalize with the Ruach is not in men but in the Ruach which fills man. It is important each should be allowed to do whatever he is called upon to do. 9. Yeshua asked of Yohanan, What do you know about me? 10. Yohanan said, Years gone by, I had a vision, of 3 lights, of the Shemaim, and as the sun sank so they rose. A flame of fire went up over Yerushalayim, and smoke filled the Heikel, and a star fell down into Yehuda. The meaning I know, for it was this, the deliverer is born, and woe unto the house of Herods, woe to you scribes, and your interpretations of the Torah. 11. The star that appeared and stood over Yerushalayim, was a child planted into Bethlehem, from out of the heights of the Shemaim, as was foretold, and it was Nebuah he would be the deliverer. The fire that burned was the fire of a strange altar. 12. I narbe great things for you. You are the true Ba'en of Elohim. Soon you will see the glory of the Shemaim revealed, and the power of the Ruach HaKodesh will be poured out upon you as a stream of pure water. The time has come to proclaim yourself. Shalom, Shalom, on you whom our Elohim has chosen as his messenger, for you will proclaim the true Bizarah. Strengthen your heart, for the road ahead is steep and stony. No man is hated so much as one who tries to point out defects in character and attitudes and seeks to guide men along the path of right and beneficial living. 13. Then Yohanan took Yeshua down to the river and immersed him, and he was overshadowed by the Ruach HaKodesh, and became fully filled with its power, so his face glowed. And the people wondered and were bewildered, for they did not understand. Yet the face of their forefather Moshe had also glowed after he had been in the presence of the Ruach HaKodesh of Yahweh. Typology. Soon you will see the glory of the Shemaim revealed. 1. The Shemaim is the cosmic egg, or Orphic egg, or the heaven. 2. And the power of the Ruach HaKodesh will be poured out upon you as a stream of pure water. 3. He was overshadowed by the Ruach HaKodesh, and became fully filled with its power, so his face glowed. So Jesus needs the Ruach HaKodesh, or cosmic power, which made his face glow. Again, this is very much occult information, which is again banned in the churches because of truth, putting forced faith over astrology. 14. Yohanan said, Go and wait upon the mountainside nearby. 15 later, Yohanan went to join Yeshua and told him that he was the anointed one, but should not yet make this known to the people. Typology. The Apocrypha and Dead Sea Scrolls uses the original names, locations, including gods, the stars, in the original languages, and everything is, and always was, astrology. 1. The birth of Yeshua, the Nazarite, who became our Adonai. Adonai is Jupiter. 2. Bel, the Christ of Babylon. Murdoch is Gabriel, is Adonai, is Jesus, equals Jupiter, the bright, the radiant, morning star. 3. Remember, in the occult, Jesus is the light, the good, to fight Ahriman, the evil. It has nothing to do with the physical, whether a living man, or the planet Jupiter. Good and evil has no form, it simply is. I own the complete Dead Sea Scrolls, and the complete Apocrypha, and Aramaic, the Book of Enoch, as well as the ancient Sumerian, and Babylonian, Assyrian Achieve, and no matter the books, everything is, and always was, astrology.